All right, guys, so let's unpack what we learned from previous week. So, what kind of the topics that stick out to you the most? What's your key takeaway? I guess the overall theme of last week lecture was about market driven and driving markets.
Yeah, I would like to talk about that.
Are you fun?
So driving market, it reminds me of a Chinese saying that if there's no need, then just create needs. Um, it, for example, Apple. At the start, a customer don't really know how like how to imagine.
Yeah, they don't really know what a phone needs, right?
Yeah. They just changed all the generations phone to a multi-purpose screen and just only keep one button. Before that, a customer don't really know that what that's their needs and like they don't know how the phone can be like that. Sorry,
Innovation.
that is driving markets, and Apple did change the phone market and even the competitors way to make them fun. And there is another approach is that um market driving.
Oh yeah, market driven.
Yeah, market driving. For example, Zara, it it read the market and then learning from the market, and then they just create their new products because of the market trends.
Oh yeah.
And that's why they are market driven.
Interesting. I've read a case about Zara that the cycle from the design to store shelves was within 25 days. That's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
So anyone want to add on this or?
Yeah, I feel like since our assignment we look at Canva, and from what you said, I think Canva might be a market driven company. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think it create a one of a kind tool, but it's actually recuperate like all other tools and put it in together in an app and listening to customers' feedback and take that into app building. I guess that's one of great Canva.
Okay, so I want to talk next. My topic is about customer lead versus market oriented. Both of them are focused on customer. Imagine there is a coffee shop, which is customer lead. Like maybe for example, 80% of customer like oat milk. Anyone like oat milk? Me.
Alvin.
Okay, you're perfect. Okay, so come back. That 80% of the customer like oat milk, and the cafe hear that and they add more oat milk. So the business responds to what customer already say they want. So their goal is for customer satisfaction, and this is what we call customer lead. However, if it's market oriented, the cafe need to think deeper and observe more about customer. For example, they might notice that the customer are busy and dislike of waiting. So before the customer said, they can create a mobile app for mobile ordering and pickup that's meet a little need that the customer didn't express, which is the goal of market oriented is creating customer value. The key difference between those two is customer lead is to meet the current ones, while the market oriented it's anticipate future needs and create values for customers.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And your concept is very similar to the one I want to talk about next, which is the responsive versus the proactive market orientation. But I think yours is more like how companies approach to the whole market. But I think mine is more like how companies understand and respond to the real customers' needs. And like when I learned about the responsive market orientation, I think it's more about the needs that consumers have already expressed it clearly and have already say it like deeply. Just like there are many examples about that online. Just like some companies like take online comments about their products and they adjust their like functions or something like that. And about the proactive market orientation, it's more like potential needs that consumers may even not realize they really need that. Just like the example about Apple and the iPhone, like before smartphone became so normal, a person won't ask for a device with like a touch screen, a music player, or some high tech things like that. But Apple company recognize the needs, the potential needs, so they create iPhone to pre-satisfy consumers' needs like that. So I think that is proactive.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I read a case about a former Microsoft CEO which laughed at the Apple product when it first come out. First, he laughed at the price point, it's $500, which is out of the market, and also the lack of physical keyboard. But now see how Apple's really dominate the market, and
Yeah.
how the phones are made without any keyboards at all.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, so I think ideally, neither of them is always better than another. So I think a strong company should have them both develop.
Okay, and I mentioned one thing that important for us to understand from like last week lecture is the process of how market orientation actually creates customer value. So I think the first step is information acquisition. The firm or the company like they collect different types of information such as customer information, market information, also competitors information, and then they use these different information to get insights, and then they interpret it. They interpret this information from their internal level, and then different functions could
I
work
do, I
together.
do have an interesting take on this. Simon covered like how is it a struggle for companies to have their employees to share the information internally, but
Yeah,
he didn't really cover much about the strategy that was implemented by some companies. So I guess that one key part that he's missing out. And you want to continue what you were saying?
yeah, like the company like should encourage their employees to share the
Mm.
information, so like different departments could work together and they take like coordinated actions, and then they can improve their service and then create values for their
I
customers.
think building a culture around sharing is
Yeah,
one
yeah.
approach.
Yeah, and I think a good example of this is Amazon, and Amazon like they track purchasing and searching behaviors of customers, so they know what their customer wants, and they also pay attention to the outside markets and also their competitors, and then they took these insights into the actual actions. For example, they have faster delivery or personalized recommendation. And for me, that one helped me a lot when I want to buy specific type of product, but I feel hard to choose one. Yeah. So for me, I think the key is the firm get the information and then they turn them into insights, and then they choose actions, and finally they create values to the customers.
Yeah, okay. I really like your sharing because I think you part have a like strong connection with my part. It's that add on and it's helped me to like your examples about Amazon and like personalized recommendations help me to understand deeper of like market oriented. Thank you.
Yeah, so good Max. So what stick to me the most from last lecture is that the agility, which is the ability
That's the
for
boring part.
which is for organizations, the ability for organizations to renew, to adapt and change quickly. So for agility though, you need stability.
Mhm.
Ho- as if you've a stable company, you have more advantage and to grow more. But as Simon said last lecture, this can be a trap
Yeah.
as they can be more comfortable and they can't grow.
Yeah.
So there is two types of change, which is adaptive change and transformative change. Adaptive change is where a company has already made a product and they just improve it to make it better. But transformative is like 100% change. So the system, the design, everything is changed. So the most important thing about change is the trigger of change. You need to notice the trigger of change. And after that, leadership can commit. Then comes the hard part, which is to design the system, to know the objective, stuff like that. So a good example that I found is Nokia. And before Nokia was like a really powerful company, and then Apple came in and they produce iPhones, and that changed everything for them as they just look at Apple as like another competitor, no, not really a big deal. But then after a while, uh, they they it's not going so well, and they did try to change. They changed the operational change, but it's not good. And yeah, they sold it to Microsoft, and but then a good thing is that they bought another company, a system equipment company, and they did successfully did a transformative change, which is good. So from this, I learned that the effects and stuff for the change. If you forget
Yeah.
the trigger of change,
So
yeah,
I guess to summarize what he's saying is Nokia fails to see the innovations,
Yeah.
and that's why it led the companies to a downfall and the transformative change
Yeah.
on the later years. So the lecture is one part that really get me exciting is the service dominant logic. So come to think of it, like what is a product? It's just a tool for humans to use it to create value. Take a car, for example, by itself, it's just a great technology, a machine that can go forward from point A to point B. But without human interaction, without engagement by humans go inside the car, ignite and step on the pedal and move the steering wheel, the car can't really by itself move forward. So there's a saying in the lecture about the consumers as the co-creators of value. So I feel like that is one of the key phrases that I take away from the class. And come to think of it, it's challenging the thoughts of what is value itself. Like it took me back to week one. So the definitions of the value, the functionals, the experimental, the definition is very consumers eccentric. So what consumer perceive as value is more important than the product itself. What is it supposed to design to be? So I'll take YouTube as an example because like the video, I saw a video online about the YouTube co-founders in the initial states of their startups. So they was very depressed by the amount of videos and contents on their platform in the beginning phase. There was about like 40 or 60 videos. So come to think as a customer's perspective, how do you engage with YouTube as a product if it only have 40 or 60 videos? you would say it's a lame product. But from time to time, users co-creating the values by uploading videos, contents, make it more interesting, make it more widened. And now YouTube has become one of the greatest company ever. And everyone probably used YouTube in the last week or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, so overall, I guess we have a good understanding of like market-driven branding market
Mhm.
and service.